So I'm going to go off on a bit of a limb here and assume that most of you, if not all of you, have heard the very unfortunate, tragic news, the passing of Akira Toriyama, age 68. Kind of young in all honesty. The legendary creator of Dragon Ball. Alongside his other works and accolades and such, of course, but most well known for creating the godfather of modern battle shonen mangas, the Dragon Ball franchise. Wow. Just, I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is going to be a completely unscripted mess of a video. I don't know how long I'm planning on going. I don't even know really what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do. It's going to be all over the map here. So, if that's not your type of video, sorry. I just knew I had to make a video about this. I needed to talk about this because I talk about Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z all the time. I mention the characters. I always draw. So many people get frustrated with me when I do my manga reviews, when I do my anime reviews, when I do any type of review, because I make comparisons. I always compare, and many people think that that's unfair. I don't compare to criticize all the time. Sometimes, but not all the time. I do comparisons to try to draw parallels. And one of the biggest things I'm constantly bringing up is Dragon Ball. And so, alongside of just always mentioning it being one of my favorite animes, it being a large part of my childhood and stuff, I knew I needed to talk about it. And the reason we're making this very haphazard, unscripted video is I didn't want to wait till the end of the weekend to record it. Because I have a big problem. I make big mistakes in when big things happen, both good and bad, and I want to make a video about it. I have a bunch of ideas on how to make that video. Or I want to make something unique, something different from everybody else, And that's not clickbait, right? And I floated around, do I do tier lists, top 10s? Do I, what do I make? Do I stream about it? Do I get a podcast together? What do I do? And unfortunately, a lot of the time, I procrastinate because I can't make up my mind on how I want to do it, what direction I want to go. And then the window has passed to make a video about it, to make even an appreciation video, to make an acknowledgement video, to make anything, right? To make any type of content. And I knew I couldn't let that happen when it came to this, because Dragon Ball Z, especially, is a huge part of my childhood. And a large part of so many kids that grew up in the 90s, back when we didn't know what Japanese cartoons were. Anybody above the age of like 25, 26 on YouTube and stuff, you'll hear the same story. We didn't know what anime was because anime was not a term in the West until the Big Three era, which is why the Big Three is credited with westernizing, introducing anime. No, it wasn't. That was the Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball era, in my personal opinion. It's just that we weren't told. It was censored a lot. It was heavily censored, and we didn't know that it was anime. We thought it was just another cartoon to us. It came on with every other show. It came on with your reboots and your Beast Wars and everything else in the 90s. It came on with Batman, Spider-Man, and Dragon Ball. It was no different from a superhero show to us. So we didn't know the difference. But it cannot be understated in any way that this is the godfather, the grandfather, the godfather, the legendary the revolutionary of modern battle shonen as we know it today. The last 25 years of manga, of battle shonen, if not everything, from this all the way to this, something to Dragon Ball and Akira Toriyama. It's just, yeah, he is he was just the pinnacle, the pillar, the GOAT, and apparently one of the most easygoing, nicest people. The outpouring of just tributes and stuff. You can't open your phone, without seeing. It doesn't matter what social media app you open. You can't go anywhere without hearing something about somebody. I heard even the president of France made a tweet about it. Stephen A. Smith, a sports analyst, brought it up. Mark Hamill brought it up, and of course all the VAs and fellow mangakas and stuff like that. Sony, Microsoft, like all these major companies, the different entertainment companies, like everyone's just been pouring in tributes and giving out, their own letters and stuff. And for those of you who, of course, have enjoyed modern shonen or didn't get into manga until later, in the last decade or so and stuff, and you've been enjoying things like Jujutsu Kaisen or Demon Slayer, One Punch Man, One Piece, all these things, right? Remember that these mangakas would all say that their biggest influence, or one of their influences, one of their biggest inspirations, was Toriyama and Dragon Ball. Remember that most of the mangas and animes that are ongoing that you enjoy today don't happen without this series, without Akira Toriyama. And they owe him, the manga industry as a whole, the shonen genre, owes him just a debt of numbers. Just don't have, there's not a number here, right? It's just off the charts what they owe him. And I'm not being, and I'm not like going too far with that statement. It's just, it's the truth. I'm sorry. You look no further than the greatest selling mangaka of all time period by far, One Piece, Oda. Just go read his message. Go check out his interviews before with Toriyama. He has admitted on more than one occasion that this man is the legend, the GOAT of the industry. That he is the man. So, I mean, if you don't want to hear it from number one, telling you who's number one, I mean, I don't know who you want to hear it from. If you want to argue with the greatest, the best-selling mangaka of all time, if you want to argue who he thinks number one is, you go right ahead, but I'm sorry, I think, I'm going to go with him, because clearly he knows something. Because he has said him and Kishimoto have said on multiple occasions. Kubo also put out something, of course, because I'm a big Bleach fan and stuff. I saw Kubo put out something. His was a little more solemn, but it was more along the lines of funny. I'm not going to use a Bleach quote here, but I'm going to use One Piece. Dr. Hiroluck's speech. When does a man die? When he does this? Nay, a man dies when his dreams are forgotten, and those don't die. And once again, so the Kubo was trying to allude to that. I think it's just the translation reads poorly and stuff because it sounds a little harsh. But what he was trying to convey was Akira Toriyama might be dead, but his work and what he did, his spot in the world will not be forgotten. Because he was the revolutionary of the manga industry. He is responsible for, a large chunk of why the Western world knows what manga and anime is. I'm still saying that, and I don't think that can be denied, No matter what you're a fan of, if you're a fan of One Punch Man, Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, Bleach, One Piece, Beelzebub, any of these series, just go and check the mangakas themselves. They'll tell you he was the GOAT. He was their inspiration. So yeah, it's just, yeah. I personally, from someone who has read so many mangas and just read in general, and it's just been around long enough, I don't understand how people don't think Dragon Ball is well written. I don't see how you don't enjoy the iconic scenes and voice acting and everything from Dragon Ball Z. I do understand why people don't like GT. Alright, not everything's perfect. I really can admit, yes, Dragon Ball is goated. Dragon Ball Z is peak, is the pinnacle that will never be topped when it comes to battle shonen, just as a raw battle manga. But we can acknowledge there were mistakes made along the way, right? We can always acknowledge the mistakes, right? So yeah, it's, man, oh man, it sucks that such a legend is gone. The man, myth, the legend, the GOAT of the manga industry is just no more, and it's just wow. Yeah, and actually, I think they did it right, because one of the things that immediately I thought of when I first heard the news was, now I gotta wait to see if it's fake news. That's the sad thing about the internet as a source. I don't trust anything immediately. When it first comes out, wait. Give it an hour. Give it 30 minutes to an hour until we see if it's real. And even if it comes from an official source, because that was my initial point. Like, you can't even get hit with that news anymore. From the internet, at least. You can't be hit. If you hear it on a news station, okay. But they're usually the last ones to know and report on it nowadays, because of the internet. The problem with the internet is so many falsified information, so much fake news stories nowadays. And so now you gotta wait. And even if it comes, like as I said, that was my skepticism right out of the gate. Like, Toriyama's dead at 68. I'm like, is it true? Instead of grieving right away, instead of going, oh, holy shit, what? Instead of processing that right away, I immediately was skeptical. I had to go, let's wait and see first, right? And I shouldn't have to do that. That's the sad thing about the internet. And then when I brought that up that night, somebody, because it was late in the night when the news dropped, I believe, and I was on the internet, and when I saw it, and I was like, it's a little late in the evening, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Somebody even brought up, oh no, it's from the official Dragon Ball such and such Twitter, and I went, okay, still gotta wait another 30 minutes to find out that Twitter was hacked. Right? So even if it comes from an official internet source, you still gotta wait. How many times has Sony been hacked? Oh, sorry that your credit cards are on file, Twitters get hacked all the time. Facebooks get hacked. All these things get hacked. So, I don't know what, and so many people will make up fake things. How many, urban leak stories and all these different things do you see? Just for the clicks, just for the views, just for the clickbait, for the clout, whatever. It doesn't matter what social media platform. And that's really, really sad. It's really sad that I had to sit here and be skeptical and go, I can't exactly call the man. I don't know him personally, so I better wait until tomorrow morning. And, if it's not listed as fake news by tomorrow morning when I wake up, then it's true. That's the sorry state of the internet, honestly, in my opinion. But unfortunately, it wasn't a hack. It wasn't a hoax. It wasn't for clickbait. It's the truth. It's the truth. So yeah, as I said, maybe we'll make a some type of tribute video. Review some classic Dragon Ball Z episodes, or do a tier list, a top 10, something later on. But I definitely wanted to get this out because I procrastinate making videos like this. And I missed my window to make something. And as I said, the 90s kid in me was just like, there goes my childhood. A big part of my childhood is just gone. And it's like, man, oh man. So yeah. And also, I think that they did this because by now we've all heard that he actually died March 1st. Which 100% either that or his birthday is going to become Dragon Ball Day. It's going to become a day. I think there's already a Son Goku Day in the West and the East. I'm not sure, but I know there was talk of a Son Goku Day, whether it was official or not. I'm not sure, but they're gonna make an Akira Toriyama Day. It'll be called Dragon Ball Day. It'll be called Toriyama Day. It'll be called something, but either his birthday or March 1st will become that day. I have no doubts in my mind about that. But yeah, so. And as I said, he died March 1st, but I think we didn't hear until the 7th, 7th, late on the 7th. But that was the smartest thing to do. Famous people screwed this up. Famous people do this wrong, but this was the smartest thing to do. So that because they already had to send a message out, like don't send a bunch of flowers. They don't want a repeat of the Princess Diana thing where the roads you couldn't drive down the road. There were too many flowers, sent and bought and all this stuff when Diana died. So they didn't want the same sort of idea, I guess, to happen. It's like, what do we do with all these flowers? Because around the world, not just in Japan, but around the world, so many people would send so many flowers. So I like the idea that it was private. It was the smartest thing to do. He died. Media blackout. Don't tell anybody. Let's let the family grieve. Let's let them have a private funeral. Just because he's famous doesn't mean you get to intrude on their personal family time and stuff. It's private. That's a private thing. I grew up with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. He's one of my favorite mangakas of all time. His art style, his story, everything about it. But I would never dare to intrude on something that private, that personal, right? But so many people don't have that filter. They don't think like that. And the sharks of the media are the worst of the bunch. So it was the smartest thing in the world that they did. They kept it quiet. They kept it private. And once the funeral and everything was taken care of and done, then they released the news. I think more people who are in a famous position should be taking damn notes. I think that was the smartest thing to do for the family and for his close loved ones and stuff like that. I think that was the best way to handle that, in my opinion. So yeah, it was a man. Just what a tragedy, man. Like, yeah, as I said, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna make more videos or when I will make them. I just wanted to get something out here. Just talk about like as I said, you grew up in the 90s. You didn't we didn't know what these cartoons were and stuff. And I think Oda's message brings it right around for those of you who haven't read it yet. Artor over at the Library of Ohara and stuff for One Piece fans, of course. He translated the message from Oda. And I think Oda put it best, though I'll add context in my own personal idea, is that we were the nerdy kids here in the 90s who got made fun of or beat up or whatever. We were the nerdy kids for watching the weird Japanese cartoons. Yeah. Sorry to the big 3 fans, but we were beat up before you. I'm just saying, right? Anime was over here in the West. It just wasn't popular yet. Or popular enough. How's that? But the foundation was made by us, by the 90s. And we were the first ones to be made fun of. And we didn't know the term anime. Right? Because it wasn't a term over here yet. And it just... Yeah. And he put... What Toriyama did was... He made it so that so many people could be influenced and inspired that this wasn't just for silly children anymore. That manga, the medium that was manga, can be serious. That teenagers can read. Adults can read it. It's not just for 6-year-olds. This is not childish. This is not just for kids. People of any age, of any gender, of any whatever, can read and enjoy a story. Can laugh, can cry, can love, all that stuff. And he's the one who made that happen. Oda himself is the one to basically say that. And so, I mean, that's not obviously a direct quote, but, that's basically what he said. He goes, he's the one who made it go from, it wasn't just for children, that this is more than that, right? And it inspired himself, Kishimoto, a lot of people, right? And, I think that that's 100% accurate. Because, as I said, I was the weird kid in elementary and junior high. You know, because once you get past elementary and you've been watching cartoons, you know, you fall out after elementary, right? It's like, okay, you're done watching Transformers and Batman and Spider-Man and stuff like that, right? You're starting to get over it by junior high and stuff. Nobody's playing Pokemon cards anymore and stuff, right? You're starting to get older. You're now starting to become teenagers and stuff, and especially by the time you get to the end of junior high into high school, whoa, you know, it's time to give up the cartoons, right? Yeah, not for some of us. For some of us, that wasn't the case, right? We loved it, and it was the gateway. Dragon Ball was the gateway, the doorway into the late night television when anime first came on. You know, the Fox Kids and the Fox Box, when in between the American cartoons, you started to get a few other things. You know, you started to get the 4Kids One Piece and stuff like that, and you started to get these other shows. But the more serious ones, you got the original Hellsing, you got Inuyasha, you got Death Note. You had these ones from the like late 90s but early 2000s that you started to see them on just regular cable, right? And stuff, because remember, this was in the era that Windows XP was a new thing, right? Windows 98 was still new, and stuff like that. So, you know, before the capabilities of the internet where you could download these shows and stuff like that, it was the foundation work, it was the groundwork to leading us into where we are now. And so many people, I can't think of a single anime YouTuber or manga YouTuber who, if they have a bad word to say about Dragon Ball as a whole, like in a very negative context, and not just okay, it's not perfect. We all know it's not perfect. But I can't think of anybody in my age group, or, you know, they must be super young and successful. You know, they must have gotten in on the Demon Slayer hype or something to criticize Dragon Ball to that degree and not understand that whatever you're reviewing, if it's in Shonen Jump, sorry, this got to pay homage. You got to, 100%. There's no getting around that. It was that damn influential. I don't really think I have anything else to say. I think I've been running my mouth a little too long on this one, but I wanted to get something. I told you guys to be unscripted all over the map and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, just some highlight moments. I mean, DBZA came out of this. You know, like DBZ, they owe everything to that man. You know, there's a bunch of people, a slew of voice actors who got their start on an internet parody because of this, and now they're all professionals. They're all successful, make more money than I do, and you know, they get all of this because of this man, because of this series. There's just another example. It's crazy. It's the love of this series, just by so many people just around the world, just can't be denied, and it's just, you know, as I said, I mean, I could sit here and we could talk about Dragon Ball Z till I was blue in the face. We could talk about Dragon Ball. We could talk about, you know, some of my favorite fights, my favorite characters. We could talk about, you know, that Super Saiyan 2 transformation at the, you know, in the Cell Saga was like one of the greatest, you know, the original manly cry. You know, some of the speeches, some of Vegeta's and Goku's speeches and stuff, you know. We can talk about, man, there's a lot. There's a lot we could talk about, of course, but this would go on for, I could easily make this a 2-hour video of me just sitting here just absolutely stroking off Dragon Ball Z, you know, and Dragon Ball and even to some degree GT, because even though the delivery was terrible, I thought the idea of Super Android 17 was cool. I thought his design looked kind of cool. I thought the idea of making Super Android 17, the concept was good if the execution was poor. The Super Saiyan 4 design is, I still think it's awesome. You know, more monkey in style, more gorilla look. You know, there are some good solid things about GT. And yeah, and I mean Super, I mean I've read Super and I've watched Super and stuff like that. And there's some highs and lows to Super, right? Yeah. Either way, yeah. I don't. As I said, I could sit here and rant all day, but I think we'll just end it here. At the legend's gone. The GOAT has passed, and the manga industry owes him everything. Just absolutely everything. Every battle shonen manga in the last 25 years owes him something. If not everything, they owe him something. So, very sad, very tragic. And he will be 100% missed for making the childhood of almost every kid growing up in the 90s here in the West, and I'm sure millions others around the world. And just being, apparently, from what I've heard, that very easygoing, shy man that he was, that very humble man who was an absolute, pillar of the industry. So that's it for me, guys. What are your favorite? What are your thoughts? What are your favorite Dragon Ball moments? Anything you want to say in the comments is fine with me. Yeah, just appreciate what the man did for the industry and for the mangakas that you are enjoying today. The acknowledgement and the appreciation just got to be there, right? So that's it from me. Somber note. I'm out. Sayonara.